help me discern what's God's voice in the middle of busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that is, I again, one of the first things I learned in spiritual direction through the program I went is, I'm not a spiritual director. I'm a guide. And my job is to bring you and what you've said and what you're thinking to the Lord.
Okay.
Because the Father is the spiritual director.
Right.
And if you've ever met anybody that says, I have a personal relationship with the Lord and really lives that, and you could tell right away, that's a whole new world. And then it's like, I've always said, when you get to that point, which is very beautiful, it's over. You just respond to it.
Right.
And so to help people as they talk, and sometimes, you've said this 2-3 times lately, and so it's that relationship with people. We usually meet once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's by phone, because of our crazy world, and
right.
And it's if somebody would come and say, my wife just left, can I go to spiritual direction? I would say, you don't need spiritual direction. You need just some counseling or even spiritual counseling. So it's a relationship. But again, I love St. Ignatius about spiritual direction. And he really started this whole new way of kind of being because he wanted to be a hero, wanted to be a big shot, wanted to be a socialite, wanted to marry the right people.
Right.
And in a battle way back when, I can't remember when, he was wounded with a cannonball.
Okay.
And he's just in bed. By God's providence, they only had a couple books to read, and one book was on he loved kind of like fairy soap operas, you might call them heroes.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And the other one was just a life on saints. I think a life on Jesus. I don't know if I got it exactly right. And he discovered that as he dreamed about being a superhero, super dude, it was good for a while, but later it kind of flat.
Sure.
And then when he would read the lives of the saints, it was that same good, but he was still thinking about it later.
Okay.
And so discernment would be stay with what stays with you.
Okay.
He said, because the great thing about Ignatius is we have everything we need in us to live right. We're made in God's image, and we've been reconciled with God. And so when you tell people you have everything, and now other people can guide you to say, now, what about this? Or why do you keep going back to that? And so it's not like it's up to me. I've had known people that would say, if I'm your spiritual director, you have to follow everything I say. Well, that's crazy people. And that's probably abuse.
That's actually good to know, because that's something I kind of thought about when I first came to work here, and people were talking about, you should think about going to do spiritual direction. Actually, with Father Vogel. And I thought, well, I don't want to do everything Father Vogel tells me.
Yeah.
So that's good to know that it's not about you telling someone what to do.
No, it's helping me listen to what you already have, and And it's not like, tell me what to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Right.
And if I feel like you're going the right way, the wrong way, I should say, I'm going to let you do. I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
Because there's nothing better than learning from our own mistakes.
Okay.
And several times people said, you knew this wasn't going to. I said, yeah, a monkey would know you can't do this and come out good.
Right.
Why didn't you tell me? You wouldn't learn a darn thing.
True.
Now, tell me what you've learned in the next couple of days, like, stupid is stupid, and I'm in it. And then there's that,
right.
Okay.
Right. That's a really important thing to be able to come to, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, as a director, too.
Yeah.
Like, wow. And it's that listening beyond the conversation.
Sure.
And we've all have friends or family, and it like, how you doing? And they'll say, fine. And we'll look at them and say, you're not fine. What's up? Well, how do you know that you've got a relationship with him? But it's all about a relationship with the Father and just in prayer. And eventually, I would say most directors or anybody spiritual life would say, the best prayer is with the Lord alone. I just read something the other day. I was on a talk, and it was, the default language of God is silence.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're telling me I want to be in spiritual direction, and I would say, how about silence? No, I'll never do that. Well, then you got the wrong director.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I have heard that about you, that you recommend silent retreats and so on, which I have not done either.
Yeah.
So I'm not really on the right path yet, am I?
But you're capable.
I'm working on it.
There we are. Yeah.
So you mentioned St. Ignatius of Loyola, who actually has been very influential in spiritual direction in the church.
Yes.
So you talked a little bit about him, but why is it that he had so much influence? What did he do? to influence that?
He had a gift, like some people do, that, again, that his own experience was enough for him to lead that kind of life. And then he just shared it with other people.
Yeah,
it is, everybody, whenever you hear people talk about Ignatian rules and all that sort of stuff, they'll say, I know that, and I knew that. And so it's all experiential. It isn't a theory. You don't have to memorize a lot of steps that, essentially spiritual direction is really just when something's going on, just be aware of that. There's a lot of joy when I do that or read that. It just lifts you up, brings you closer to God. And some things that's just not right. Even if it feels right at the minute, so that's just be aware of what your soul, mind, and body is saying.
Right.
But if we go 90 miles an hour, we're never going to get that.
Right.
And then the second step is just understand, this is very classical, is that a good witch or is that a bad witch? Good old Wizard of Oz. Is if you did that, would that lead you to peace?
Sure. Okay.
And we know, because how many times have we gone back to the same thing? I think about 27 beers in about an hour would be good for me. or 10 pounds of chocolate, or third trip to the ice cream, 20 minutes after dinner.
Right.
That's good. But then you sit down and it's like, there's just this blah, there's just this pit. Or there's that, I just helped somebody, or I changed what I was doing, and there's just peace. And so that's true. That's make a choice. Follow this and quit doing that.
Right.
And then you make a decision about implementing that. Okay, I'm going to start praying more. I'm going to just really stick with prayer this time. So understand and then choose.
Right.
And it's just, again, it's all very common sense.
We all kind of have that intuition about what the right thing really is, which is
There's
probably God talking to us.
Absolutely. But
we
90
choose the
miles
wrong
an hour,
things.
90 miles an hour.
Right.
There's a great line that God never hits a moving target. I like that.
God never hits a moving target, huh?
If we're that butterfly.
Yep.
No, when you stop, it isn't when I stop, God's going to talk.
Right.
When I stop, I can hear and focus.
Right. Super important distinction.
Yes,
there.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, did you learned this ministry, or learned how to be a spiritual director?
Yes, there was
you have to go through
there's
training.
still a great training program. There's other ones go out there, and it was it was a week, 3 weeks a year for 3 years.
Okay.
Then you read books and do other counseling and direction, and you wouldn't record it, but you do verbatims and stuff like that, and then you go back again, and then you go on 8-day silent retreats. And it's a pretty formal program, and there's a number around.
And you don't have to be a priest to be a spiritual director.
No,
right?
as a matter of fact, two of the people that work at Broomtree, the gals, Jackie and then Teresa here in the diocese just finished their program. Yeah, and it's kind of funny that there seems to be a big need for this now, and I think, to be perfectly honest, the world is just so screwed up. You can do your own thing. People are saying that's crap. Yeah, doing what I want hasn't worked before I want, and so you say, "Can you help me get some common sense that I kind of gave away?"
Father Scott would say, "How's that working for you?"
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right.
He often says that.
How's that working out?
Yeah. If you just joined us, we're talking to Father Joe Vogel about spiritual direction today. So why should someone consider getting spiritual direction? Why should I get spiritual direction, Father Vogel?
I would say very simply, there's more. And you watch people that kind of settled in that, and they're peaceful, even in the storm, and they just, as my dad would say, one of 8 kids. Okay. And just wise as ridiculous. He said, just quit leaning on that panic button. You're making yourself crazy, and I want more. I get caught up, and then I think if I buy 20 more shoes, I'll be fine. If I think I buy a new car, I'll be fine. And if my kids get out of school and then a retirement, and it's like, no, holy is only now. Again, Ignatius would say we have that grace in us.
Right. That's actually really helpful to hear right now, because I think there's also this, if I do one more thing, it will be, that's what I find in my life. It's always this, well, if I could get this one more thing done. Right. And then it'll be better. And then something else always comes up right behind it, and you never feel like it's done.
This one up. And if you ever read Screw Tape Laters, that's just an uncle training a nephew. And one of the first lessons, the young guy was all shook up. He said, this isn't hard to get these people. Keep them busy and loud.
And loud, yes.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And you go to a basketball game, you go to a baseball game, commercials are always louder, and
that's true.
You don't think.
Yeah.
When you don't think, I just heard something else about that. When you aren't bored, this is anti-cell phone all the time. If you're not bored, you're never going to be creative.
Oh, wow.
Because again, years of doing this, I think a lot of people are afraid of being silent because they honestly think if I get silent, I'm going to hear God say, you are a twit. You're just a big baby. You're a weenie. And so I don't want to hear it. So I just stay busy.
Comforting words from Father Vogel today.
Well,
but it's true.
It's just like,
it's true.
And then they go to Broomtree 3.5 days or 1 day or 8 days. And it's like, and they get quiet, guided quiet. And it's like, I've missed so much.
Yep.
I've missed so much.
I know that's something I've really been considering doing as a silent retreat. I think it'd be really hard
No,
for me.
come here. Look at me. You will do one, okay?
Okay.
All right, got it.
See, it seems like every time I think to sign up for one, the only ones that are open are in the middle of the winter, and I don't want to go to Broomtree in the winter. I want to go in the summer.
You did sign up a year early or a year and a half.
It has to be very
all right.
early, doesn't it?
Good.
Yeah.
You can do it. It'd be
I will
good
do
for
it.
you.
I'll go and I'll sign up this summer for next summer.
There we go.
Okay. So how would you recommend someone should approach choosing a spiritual director? Because I think it's important to choose someone you're comfortable with, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Are they people of prayer?
Okay.
Are they peaceful in the storm? Are they generous? You can't be holy without. People ask me, how do I even know I'm going the right direction? You give these talks and you this and this, and how do I know? And I can tell you exactly how you know. If you're moving toward holy, you will always be ridiculously grateful, and you're going to be crazy generous.
Okay.
That is always universally true. You find happy, holy people, they're generous and they're grateful.
Right. That's true. And not when you say that and you kind of sit and think about it for a minute, that's very true.
So go back over your last week. Have you been grateful and generous? No. Well, then no wonder you're kind of crabby.
No wonder I need that silent retreat, right?
You're going to hurt somebody.
Okay.
So spend time with them.
Yeah.
Get to know their background. Maybe listen to them preach if they're priests. Or or I don't think it's kind of hard to say somebody. Give me the list of people you've directed.
Right.
That would be inappropriate.
Yeah.
But you might hear friends talk about. I went to Ray, was really good, and time with them and pray about. Ask God. God knows.
Yeah.
But what do you think? And
that's a good suggestion. Yeah. God does know who you should be with. What's expected of a person in spiritual direction?
That they're praying, and they're every now and again somebody would ask, I'd like to be in direction. And I said, are you praying much? Oh, not very much. I said, let's do this. 6 months, you join the once a month club, big confession once a month.
Okay.
And you promise to pray 20 minutes a day, 10 of it with the Bible and 10 of it silence.
Okay.
And you come back and see me in 6 months.
So that's the beginning of spiritual direction,
because
right?
God's been your director for 6 months.
Right.
Dad, what do you want me to do? Father, what do you think I should do?
Right.
Because if you want to come in and know nothing, I'm going to watch. No, you're capable. I think that's, and every now and again, people are in direction. And I say, well, how much did you pray last week? And they say none. And they said, I'm not going to see you today. I'm just, no.
Is that just because they're just not in the right place at that point?
Or I think we kind of like something for nothing, or they're kind of scary going deeper.
Sure.
And I'm trying to, as a father, I'm trying to love them into, you are more capable than you believe.
Right.
But you have to do your part.
Right.
And if you don't get silent, you can't hear love.
Right.
That's in marriage. That's in friends. One more thing I want to add. One thing is that I think we're, when we started doing spiritual direction, everybody kind of came to the conclusion you can only be a spiritual director if you've got the training.
Okay.
And they would have millions of people go to Broomtree, and then they tell 1,000 people a year, get a director, and there's only like 20 of us.
Right.
So I think we can build this culture that only these people are qualified. No, we all have friends that are very qualified. Well, I have a great definition of a soulmate.
Okay.
If they kick your butt because you're being stupid and you thank them, stay with them.
Okay.
Because they love your soul.
Right.
And that's grandmas, and that's so we can all find people while we're looking at maybe should I be full-time direction, is ask people for advice. Because the worst thing we do is say, I don't need help.
Right.
Well, that's,
we all need help.
Yeah, but to limit it to only a certain amount of people,
Sure.
That's a good thing to be more qualified. But can you see where it could be kind of a flaw?
Yeah.
To say there's only some, no. We all know people that would
help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
But we have to ask.
Mm-hmm. That's hard to do sometimes.
Absolutely. But that's when the kingdom of heaven opens up.
Right.
I don't have to know everything.
Right. Have you seen some really incredible journeys of people in spiritual direction?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, and the lights kind of come on when they figure out after a year or two that when they figure out the obvious, like it's really wrong that I keep doing that. And it's like, it's like when you're raising kids, when they figure out like, this is kind of my fault. I'm kind of limiting myself. Or I was praying and I heard the Father say this. It's like, Father delights in me. And when I know God delights in me, when I know I'm the Father's child, like John, you're my beloved son. When I know that, and when I get people to come to that, just crawl on the Father's lap. Just crawl on Mary's lap. I just sit on the lap and say, God, I forgot you love me. Would you tell me again?
It's amazing that we forget that, isn't it?
Yeah. It's called sin. And then,
Right.
and then he said, well, do it again. Go back in 5 minutes. And so,
Right.
yeah, it's just, it's awesome, really.
Yeah. So you've enjoyed it over your years.
Oh, yeah.
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 Good.
The training changed me.
Sure.
It moved my priesthood into relational prayer with the Father. And again, when I know I'm loved, I don't have to work nearly as hard. Because when I know I'm loved, I don't have to fix people.
Right.
When I know I'm loved, I don't have to be ahead of you. When I know I'm loved, I can just sit and say, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm waiting for God.
Right. Right.
Peace.
Super important. Yes. Peace is, we all need that.
Don't you
we?
know?
All right. Father Vogel, thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about spiritual direction. Hopefully that helped people understand what it is, what it isn't, and whether or not they want to go be silent for a little bit. I think I am going to do a silent retreat. I promise.
Amen.
All right. If you haven't found us on social media yet, you can find us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at SF Diocese. And of course, at our website at sfcatholic.org anytime. That's it for us today. Hope you'll join us again next week for more Catholic Views.